is rise, we can delay it.
Hello everyone and welcome to yet another episode of the Someone Had to Say podcast. Really hope that it's been a swell time being with us so far, and if you are yet to subscribe, please do. I think we should first of all appreciate all the people who have already subscribed.
Absolutely. Thank you
Thank you so much. Subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much. The feedback we've been receiving has been amazing. And we couldn't be doing this without you. Thank you so much. And today we have yet another exciting episode for you. Are you looking forward to this episode?
Let's get it.
All right. Are you sure?
Yep.
Because as always, I'm sure there's something exciting in the Red Shoe Box for us today.
Absolutely.
So in case you do want to tell our audience about the Red Shoe Box,
okay,
I want to believe some people will be joining us
for the first time
on this episode.
Okay, so this is one of our traditions on the podcast. The Red Shoe Box, this is where we have questions, suggestions, and things that people would want us to tackle. Everything goes inside this box. We jiggle and shuffle. We open and pick one, and that will be the topic of the day. So
all right. So now that you have got the memo,
jiggle.
I thought you just did it now. So that should example have been even the explanation is part of it. All right. So drum roll.
Let's go.
All right. So let's see topic for the day. All right. Let's see what we have today.
Wow. I love it. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
So today's topic will be love on a budget, managing money as a couple.
Oh, now we are finally talking about money.
One.
And you are our financial expert, financial guru. All right.
Of the family, at least.
Exactly. So don't be surprised if today you just hear me asking most of the questions.
Yeah.
Even though I'm the one who is a chartered banker, you are
see this life. It's not balanced like that.
No problem. All right. So we're going to be talking about managing finances as a couple.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first conversation we had about money and how it went?
Wow. So there's one that comes to mind, but let me not get into it.
Please focus on the question. The question said the first conversation.
Money conversation. So I do remember. So I don't remember the exact one, but I'm sure we definitely had money conversations within the first 1-2 months of us dating, because all through the period of our dating, we asked ourselves questions. In fact, by the time we got married, we had a list of about 200 questions, which of course we have plans for, just to help people. I will get into that some other time. But I remember that we definitely, within the first couple of months, we definitely asked ourselves our ideologies about money, our values around money, family, or the things we saw growing up that shaped, the way we thought about money, how our parents talked about money. Some of these questions are just, uncovered how we thought about money, the ideologies around it, the emotions, especially around money. So I know we definitely had those conversations early on, even before we got into the specifics of how much we earn. So I do remember that it was something that we would typically talk about.
Interesting. I remember one of the awkward ones, which was basically when we started getting into some deeper conversations regarding money. And I remember, I think he was at the mall.
Yeah, or in the car.
I can't even remember the question you had asked specifically. Yeah. And I think, thinking back at it now, the main reason why I was a bit he was agitated, the word.
Overwhelmed?
Yeah, overwhelmed and
flooded.
Yeah, flooded was because at that time, I remember I was owing some money to somebody. And was it somebody or two people? I can't even remember precisely, but I know I was owing someone some money. And I wanted to have sorted out that debt before we had that conversation about money. So it seemed like the conversation came up a bit too soon before I could get all of that sorted. And I didn't want that to sort of create the wrong impression, that, hey, this is Onigbese that wants to marry me like this, So I feel like I was self-conscious about it in that period. And I think it wasn't even too long after that we eventually had the conversation, and I mean, it's been awesome since then. We definitely will get to talk about that more. Which would lead me to my next question, When do you think is the right time, especially let's say before marriage, when you are dating, maybe when you are in the talking stage, as we like to call it these days, when you are friends, when is the right time to start having the money conversation?
So I think as early as possible. I think for us, like I said, it was in fact the first month thereabout. And I think when in asking this question, I'm sure most people are thinking about the specifics in terms of how much, you know, your potential partner earns. And I think that's not even the most important element, because before you get into that, like I said, you need to know, how does this person think about money? What are their values around money? Do they think of money as a tool, or do they think of money, as a tool to achieve things, or do they see money as a tool to kind of drive a perception about yourself? What are their ideologies about borrowing, about debt? What are their ideologies around spending money for family, spending money for investments, savings? I think those are like critical questions. You know why? Because those for the most part, it influences your decision making. It influences the trajectory of your life. In terms of the absolute amount a person earns, it can change. It's flexible. I believe my earning capacity is limitless. So if a person is so bothered about how much I earn, in the next 2 days, that can change. It is subject to change. I want it to change, of course, upwardly.
Yeah.
Right? So when you have that mindset, then you know that it's okay to have these questions like as soon as possible. And it can even from observation, you can tell what drives a person, how a person thinks about money, right? How they spend the money, how they allocate money. So it doesn't have to be, you can't just start dating a person or you meet a person you like and asking them how much do they earn, right? That's not the most important question. A person may earn something relatively low, but the values are in the right place. Then you know, okay, this person has their earning in a good place, that it's a function of them just increasing their earning capacity and they're on a good trajectory. And a person can earn so much, the values are whack, and it's only a matter of time before the absolute amount begins to reflect it, or their life, the state of their life begins to reflect it. So with that being said, I believe it can happen as soon as possible. So, and it's something that can be eased into. There can be something trending on Twitter concerning finances, right? Maybe a murky financial situation, and you guys just gist about it, you laugh about it, you banter around it. Even though it's all laughs and it's a chilled kind of conversation, but you are getting something from the person. You are understanding how they think around money. And I think that's like more critical and more important than just knowing the absolute amount of what they earn. So what do you think?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Regarding when the money conversation should happen or should start, like you had said, I think it's a continuously improving conversation. In fact, money conversations in a relationship is one that should always happen in every season and in every phase. Absolutely. Of course, the dynamics of it changes as the relationship evolves and grows, but it is something that should always happen. And there are a few reasons why. And I feel like the nature of the questions and the nature of the conversations would also evolve over time. The conversations we would have when we are friends and not in a marital relationship is different from the conversations we'll have at the early phase of dating. And it's different from the conversations about money we'll be having when we are planning for a wedding, when we start a family, when it's just the two of us as a couple, when we start having children. You know, so the seasons are always changing. When your children are in school, when they get to college, when you're empty nesters. So it's an ever evolving conversation. So speaking about like the low hanging, you can start from the low hanging fruits, you know, and there are, like I said, there are conversations you can have even at a friendship or talking stage level. It can be, so you want to keep it as calm as possible, but from conversations, you can already tell what somebody's ideologies are. For instance, you could just ask if you had $1 million, what are you going to do with it? And you start to hear typical answers like, you know, I will pay my tithes, you know, I will give to the poor, I will invest. Everybody always says that. But you realize that not a lot of people have actually sat down to imagine what their life would look like if they had access to $1 million. And this is a giveaway idea for maybe not your first date, but if you are already dating, you guys can go on a money date where all you do is just sit down together and budget for $1 million. I feel like, of course, $1 million may not be wealth to everybody, but it's a substantial amount of money that would make, I can say it will make everybody at least get to a level of rich. Do you get that? So I feel like sitting down to actually plan for that level of income will let you realize where your own priorities
Exactly.
are, where your potential partner or actual partner's priorities are, the things that matter most to you
them,
in life. So sitting down and doing exercises like that would open you up to a world of other questions. I'm going to go watch an NBA game first. Why does that matter to you? Then you go into conversations about your love for sports and stuff like that. Oh, I want to go to Disney World. Why are you at age 22 going to Disney World? Maybe it's a fantasy you've always wanted to have as a child. So there are a lot of conversations that could open up. You know, there are other things about, so how was what's the most expensive thing you've ever spent money on that you feel is of value? What's the most expensive thing you felt you wasted money on? And you see how people's perspectives differ. And I feel like relationships that start off as friendships have leverage in that if we were friends before we started dating, it fast tracks certain conversations. So there are some conversations we can start having earlier on when we start dating that people who did not have that friendship, maybe they met and the intention was to date from the get-go. So the early phase of their dating or getting to know each other phase before they actually start dating may be different in context from people who had been friends maybe for years before they start dating. I feel like they are on a faster track than those people in terms of how much depth they can get into regarding some conversations. So I mean, when you start dating, you can now start having conversations around, what was money? What was what values or what ideology do you have about money? How was money handled in your family growing up? You know, how did your parents have discussions about money? What are your own ideas? How do you feel like that impacted you? So you are softening the ground with this. At this point, we are talking values, so that when the subject of income comes in, we already know the precedence with which we are approaching that. I will not now be defining you based on how much you are earning. I have enough pretext to know whether, even if this person is not really earning a lot, is this somebody I can grow with? Because like you said, it's not really about how much I'm earning or how much you are earning. It's about our money values. That will determine how long we are going to last in a relationship. In fact, I was going through some statistics not too long ago. Can you guess what the leading cause of divorce in the world is? Number one. Finances. You know, we are wrong. I intentionally phrase it like that. Finances is not number one.
Well, let me guess, family?
No, I think number one, I'm trying to remember what number one is probably something around not wanting to build together. Something, lack of commitment is probably number one. So, I mean, it's a consensus of different statistics, but on the average, but you find out that money is in the top 5. Money is usually number 4, between number 3, 4, or 5 across different measuring matrices. And what this makes you understand is that money is actually a very, very important part of any relationship. So when should the conversation start? It should start as soon as possible, even though the nature with which it starts differs. Of course, you don't go for the sledgehammer immediately. You say, are you going to spend all your money on me? Am I going to? No, that's too early, too fast, too soon. But start with understanding each other's values, how you see money. What do you even think about what do you think being rich will do to you? Those are good questions you can ask each other. Do you feel like you lose your values if you had a lot of money, and why? So those are good questions that you can start out with. So the next question I would like to ask, and just in case you are looking for a way to, because when it comes to conversations about finances, some people are looking for investment advice. This episode will be more in relation to budgeting and money management advice than how to grow your wealth. Maybe
at some point
we will do that one later when we have also figured it out. Trust me, I will use it first before I come and share it with you. You know, but this is more around how to manage your money, how to manage your finances. So my next question is going to be regarding the subject of budgeting, and there are different schools of thoughts where this is concerned. Some people believe that you should have an actual budget, like a spreadsheet, an app, somewhere where you have the budget as a family stated down precisely how we are going to spend everything that comes into our accounts and all of that. The second school of thought is that as long as we have the same values, you know, we are good to go. And I should also mention that in case you are looking for a way to theme this finance episode, because some people believe when it comes to financial conversations, you know, there are topics around building wealth, how to increase, how to invest, and all of that. We'll come back to that later on. Trust me, I'm going to use it before I share it with you. So maybe some other time. So this one is more tailored towards financial management, how to manage your money, how to budget, and all of that stuff. So these two schools of thought, budgeting versus going with the flow. You know, we both have emotional understanding regarding finances. As long as nobody is disturbing the other, let's just wing it. So what do you think about these ideologies?
Okay, so I know that, I mean, different families run their finances, you know, in different ways. I mean, different strokes for different folks. Some people are a proponent for joint accounts. Some people just handle their finances separately and all of that. But here's my thoughts.
Tell us.
I do not recommend joint account for everyone.
Okay.
But I'm a huge proponent for joint finances.
So what's the meaning of that?
So this is what I mean. So for joint account, the principle behind it is that two people own an account in their names, right? But the principle of joint finances, I think, is superior and something that can last for every season of marriage, really. And you would see why, even as we go on with the conversation. So I think the principle of joint finances is the fact that the two people involved in that union, in that marriage, of course, they represent channels of income, of money, of wealth, right? And then they need to see those channels, they merge it into one, and then it becomes the family income.
Okay.
So this doesn't necessarily require having a joint account.
Okay.
But then the family income is budgeted.
Okay.
You budget to that family income. So let's use both of us as a case study. So I don't have like an individual budget with my earnings. Neither do you. We merge it together and we say this is our family earning and this is our family budget. Right? So we have our budget and we have our family savings, family everything. We have flex money that we give to one another that we allocate, and of course we'll get into the details of that. But basically the principle is that the finances are merged as a family finance, and then you budget with it. And it's such that, like I said, you don't need a joint account for it. So there are elements that you handle. So if you need X amount to execute the item that you handle in the budget, your account will be funded with that amount. If I need Y amount to execute the element of our budget that I handle, then I'm funded with that amount. If we're saving or investing Z amount, that amount is invested in platform A. So maybe another amount is invested in platform B, then that is done, right? So I think that is superior versus just saying we're just having a merger for our money. And
but might that not be complicated for some people?
How do you mean complicated?
So now, because now there's the dynamics of the fact that, okay, if I want to handle this, I get funded. If you want to handle this, you get funded. Who is the money coming from? Who is handling what? So maybe in some dynamics, there may not be that level of, would I say, trust? And maybe some people just actually need that normal joint account, you know.
Yeah, so I think the beauty of joint finance is that it solves for accountability issues. It solves for trust issues as well. So because if we have a joint finance, I have visibility into what our earning is as a family. So I know if for grocery is amount X and I'm the one executing grocery, I'm responsible for it. So I have the money to be able to execute X. So it's not a function of this person is earning more, this person is earning less. If you are thinking of growing as a couple, right? Knowing that your earning power is limitless, right? So you want it to be that way, because if your plan for the now is because I'm making it up, you are earning more. Your plan for now is because you are earning more. Will you be comfortable when the table flips and I'm earning more? Would you feel comfortable with that? You running with the flow because it's your finances. You know what? I'll just do what I want to do. But imagine I start earning 3x what you are earning. Will you feel comfortable with that? So I think that having a joint finance is foolproof. It encourages trust. In fact, I've seen scenarios where people are almost tempted to keep one side money that comes in. But because you know this is the family income, you are much more inclined to want to open it up and give visibility into, because you know this is our joint family money, right? And it will impact other things when I submit this, right? It means that, for instance, maybe our flex money can, you know, get a bump, or maybe money for grocery or money for savings can get a bump, right? So I think when it comes to finances, I'm pro long term. So is this strategy, is it foolproof for every season of our lives?
Yeah.
For every season of our earning power? Right? If one person has to be so if I have to be a sit-at-home mom, or you have to be a sit-at-home dad, is this something that we see running and will not jeopardize our trust, will not jeopardize what we have going in terms of intimacy and, being vulnerable? Yeah, so that's why I think that having a joint finance, is game. Some people have joint account, but they're not even budgeting. They're just merging the money together, or maybe merging some part of it, right? And then there's no plan for how the money is spent, right? Because when you marry somebody, you are literally doing life with them. What some people do is to say, 50%, you bring your 50%, I think it can get muddled up, right? So if a person is consistently over the period of 20 years earning more, and in marriages, when it comes to finances, naturally there's always that power dynamics. So you want to ensure that you are empowering one another to be able to sit on the table as equals when it comes to finances, regardless of who is earning more, regardless of who is the husband and who is the wife. In terms of execution of the flow, I think it should be collaborative, right? I think that in most instances, who should take the lead is who is more versed in financial matters, who will not be emotional, the person who is more disciplined, right? But when it comes to the power play, I think individuals or people in that marriage, in that union, must do everything possible to empower each other to be able to sit on that table as equals. And that is not determined by who is earning more and who is earning less. And I think that having a joint finances is like one of the secrets to making that happen. And I think it also cures on a deeper spiritual level. It also cures selfishness, right? Because if even if I'm earning 20x what my partner is earning, there's a us. And in marriage, people need to realize that there's the me, there's the you, and there's the us. And when we focus on the us as a collective, it impacts me and you, and we can live richer lives. Our marriages can be richer because, there was a book we read when we were dating by John M. Gottman, The 7 Principles
for making marriages
for making marriages work. I think it's for successful marriage or something like that. And I think he said like the three things that makes most marriages like unsuccessful, most marriages fail. He mentioned finances, family, and sex. So that shows you how critical finances are in the success of a marriage. So for me, any strategy that a person is adopting, I would recommend that it is something that can last through every season of that marriage, of that union. So it can't be something for now. It can't be something that benefits you because you are earning more, or maybe because you're even earning less, right? It has to be something that benefit both parties, long term.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And while you were speaking, it made me think about how important power dynamics is, even when it comes to finances in relationship. And the power dynamics when a relationship starts determines how finances can be managed when you get married. Which is why I always worry for ladies, for instance, who go into dating expecting that, I want a man who's going to take care of me, who's going to foot my bills, who's going to do everything for me. And I would just, I just want to be a baby girl, let my man spend on me and stuff like that. So while that may have its benefits to you in that phase of life, you need to realize that you may be relinquishing your capacity to enter into a partnership when it comes to managing the finances of the family when you eventually get married. Yeah. So because now take an example from a typical African polygamous home, which many people grew up in or have an experience of or have an ideation of. You have like a wealthy man who has multiple wives. So it's more or less like a benefactor versus dependent relationship. Now tell me how those wives are going to come and sit down with chief to plan finances together.
They are never invited to the table.
Exactly. So there isn't equality in understanding, in perception, even in forecasting. So a wife in that scenario doesn't have a right to ask her husband how the money is being managed. Same way, and you may feel like, that is not as rampant now. If you put yourself in a position where you are a dependent in your relationship, it makes it difficult to form a financial partnership when it comes to planning your finances as a couple, because that empowers the man to be independent in how he administers his funds. And he feels like, oh, I'm taking care of you. As long as I'm taking care of you, you are fine. So there isn't really much that you can contribute in terms of planning, in terms of managing resources. I find today instances where ladies are interested in getting into relationships where they are the dependents in the relationship. You are looking for a guy who is going to take care of you, is going to look after you, who would sort out all your financial bills. You just want to be a baby girl. While you have justifications for that, you need to understand that that does not position you in the right light to become a partner in that relationship. Already, it makes it difficult for you to come to the table with your husband to have conversations about how are we going to plan our finances going forward. Because to be honest, it's not really our finances. It is Chief, the breadwinner, and you, the dependent, lady who just has to. And, some men really take pride in that fact. Don't worry, you don't have to worry about it. I'll take care of you as long as I'm taking care of you. And that allows for there to be extracurricular activities, whether it's related to the finances, whether it's related to some men. That's what even allows for some people to have affairs outside the home. The wife doesn't know about it because there are a lot of loopholes. The financial details can give you a track record of a lot of things. So depending on how much both of you are open to one another regarding your finances, that determines how far you can go into it. So I also believe that joint finances is the best model for a couple in this generation where partnership is the goal. And even if you now decide that you also want to have a joint account, all well and good, they are not mutually exclusive. You can do both together. So at this point, I want us to make it a bit practical. So maybe there is a couple who are just getting married. They need a budget to work with. I went to dig up our version 1 budget. Of course, it has gone through some revamps and a lot of things have happened to it, which I think can sort of create a template for you to apply in your own marriage as you are starting out. Something to start with and you can improve upon over time. And we'll be going into details about things that we had in our budgets that we planned on month that we wanted to spend our money on. So I'll just go into it. I'll just go through each item and you can just explain what each of them. This feels nostalgic looking at the original version of this once again. Okay, so let me
what
see.
What version are we at now?
We should be maybe 20. Is it up to no 20 is foul. Like in actually reconstructing the budget, maybe this should be like version 5 or 6.
What?
I know we've done touch. If we are counting the touch-ups we've done, definitely,
so it's like over 20.
But like actually going over, substantial revamp of the budget. Okay, so this is a template budget for a couple. Say it would be ideal for say a couple that's just husband and wife for now, because I can already see that we don't have children and stuff like this in this particular version. All right, as you can hear. So the very first item here is the tithe. Tell us about the tithe and why that matters to us.
Okay, so our tithe is a 10% of our income, and because we're Christians and we believe in kingdom principles, we strongly believe in putting 10% of our earnings to the furtherance of the gospel via our local assembly primarily. I know that there are a lot of thoughts around tithe. Some people believe it's an old covenant practice and not instituted in the new covenant. But if we look through scriptures, I'll just breeze through that. We see Abraham first practiced tithing, and this was before the old covenant was enacted. But I'm not going to get into the the scriptural context of it. But we believe for us that everything we have comes from God, and a portion of it should also be dedicated to God. It's an act of worship for us and an act of honor to God and all He's giving us. And I think how we where we put that in is, in the furtherance of the gospel, like I said, via local assembly.
All right, awesome. So the next thing on the budget is offering. So what does that comprise?
So offering is a benevolence, giving also to the furtherance of the gospel, which we give for us primarily via our local assembly, to support the runnings of the local assembly, because of course it takes money to run church. As you can tell, we are faith people, and we believe,
Christians.
we're Christians, and we believe in moving God's work. So yeah.
Awesome. So the next item here is family, and under family, I can see parents, I can see siblings, I can see grandparents.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, so for us, family is an allocation that we dedicate to our parents, our grandparents, the ones that are still with us alive, our siblings. And I think for us, it just shows where our values lie. I think for our parents and our grandparents, we consider it a responsibility, just to honor them. While for our siblings, it's not so much of a responsibility, but like a support, a subsidy. So just, and it's something that we consider it an honor to do. Right. So it's just a joy for us to do this for.
I should mention that we are siblings. Both firstborns.
Yeah, we're firstborns. I mean, it's an interesting dynamic. So it's just something we love to do and we desire to do, and we made plans towards, for our siblings.
I mean, it's amazing to see all of these things right from version 1 of our budget. The next item here is benevolence. What's that about? So
benevolence is goodwill giving, right? That we give to people that are not family. So maybe somebody doesn't have a meal to eat, somebody doesn't have transport fare, just to support people. Because sometimes we have good intentions, but when we don't plan for it from our finances, when the opportunity shows up, we can't show up for people in the littlest of ways. So for us, this is what benevolence represents, just to help people here and there. So while it's an allocation to help us help people, it's also kind of curbs, because sometimes you want to do kind things for people and then you
don't have it exactly. So
you overshoot.
It's difficult to do if you don't plan for it.
I'm even saying when you don't now put yourself in check and you overdo it, right, and jeopardize your financial goals and plans and budgets. So that's what benevolence represents.
I should also mention that. So this is like a combined budget for both of us, which means that our income is merged. And from the pool, from the combination,
joint
finances, So the next item here is the prophet seed. What does that mean?
Okay, so prophet seed. Remember, we're Christians. As for us, it's also based on scriptural principle that both of us upheld before we got married, and it just made sense that it is represented in our joint finances. So prophet seed, we believe, based on scriptural principles, that when our spiritual leaders communicate spiritual virtues to us, that we also communicate, natural resources, financial resources to them. So there's a percentage that goes into that every month, and, forms a pool over time. And we just gift to our spiritual leaders, our pastors, our spiritual mentors, to appreciate them for the work that they do.
Awesome. Then I have here home keeping.
So home keeping for us represents, I think for us, home keeping was
I think this became household expenses.
Yes. Okay. So I think at the household expense, so basically running costs in the home. So power, fuel, repairs in the house, waste disposal. So that's what that represents.
I'm looking at the amount that is in this version 1, and I'm wondering what has happened over time.
Oh my God, inflation.
So now, next on this is Project Seed.
So I think Project Seed for us at the time was for, so because our priorities were believers and we believe in also investing in spiritual things. And I think for us, it mattered that we had pool of funds at any time if there was a need for say maybe a ministry project, say maybe wanted to support a missionary project, wanted to support something happening in church. So every month we had like a small portion of our finances that goes into that. Then we save it over time so that if there was ever a need, we could easily pull out of, those funds. So let's call it kingdom projects, basically.
And at this time, to be honest, our income wasn't the biggest, but already you could already tell where our priorities lied, even at this point. Next is groceries. I think that's self-explanatory. Food,
personal care, food,
and all that stuff. Then there's personal upkeep for myself.
So personal upkeep. Remember, in the joint finance concept, is that you pull together and then you have different buckets. And in that bucket, I also recommend that because the thing about finances is that you have to make it successful long term, you have to maintain togetherness, but not also jeopardizing individuality. So which means that yes, your finances are joint, but you also need to maintain your sense of self. Because before I married my husband, I was a self-existing, sustaining, and functioning individual, same as my husband too. So that doesn't need to be compromised just because we got married. So there has to be that element of self. So in our joint budgeting, we also have an allocation of funds that goes to, the both of us. I don't need to know what he does with his money. He doesn't need to know what I do with my money. I can decide to invest my money. I can decide to buy shawarma with it. I'm just joking, but you get the point. I can decide to do skincare with all my money. While for my husband, he can do anything he likes to do, even though his recent guilty pleasure these days.
Do you really want to go into that?
It's perfumes, but you get the point. So for us, this is what this buckets represent. The fact that, we have our own, individual funds in the month, to do whatever it is we want to do.
Okay. So here also, I mean, there was something we had bought and had to pay over time. It's here, so you don't need gist on that. Then I can also see miscellaneous here. What does miscellaneous stand for?
Miscellaneous, I think it was just to have something as backup. So maybe there's an unexpected, unplanned repair, or maybe for whatever reason we overshot on our power budget.
Yeah. So
right?
if we overshot on anything here, this could just absorb that. Then the next one is savings and investment.
Yeah, I think that was self-explanatory. So of course we had a substantial portion of our earnings, that was allocated to savings, and savings with every intention to invest. Sometimes, in fact, as the money was coming, it was entering different investment platforms. So savings, my own idea of savings and our idea of savings is that the goal is to invest it, right? So sometimes you want to save, to get a pool before you now invest. So savings to invest.
Okay. Yeah. Then next here is couple spend.
So couple spend. So this was something we allocated to just splurge on ourselves. So I think we had a goal every month to just go out, have fun, maybe fine dine, or just chill, just go out, without breaking the bank. So we had a pool of funds. Sometimes we couldn't go out, in a certain month, but what that would mean is that if we
at
eventually
this point, we even had to save up for a couple of months for it to be substantial.
Yeah,
so
for fine dining.
So
if we wanted to do fine dining, it means that we needed to probably save up for like maybe 2-3 months.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that we
then
could
at
make
least,
that
or
happen.
maybe sometimes we just go to the cinema, but just something nice for both of us to do at the time. Then the next one is emergency.
Yeah, so emergency, it is recommended that your emergency is about 3 to 6 months of your living expenses, so that if for whatever reason there is a cut in the flow of funds, at least you're good for the next 3 to 6 months. So for us, this was a way for us to kind of substantially save, to meet up to that budget we set for ourselves. I think I think for us, the goal was that when we get to a particular threshold, we could pause on it. Or sometimes when we get like a lump sum, we just, crash save on emergency, so we just worked it out that way.
Yeah. And it's best to put that in easily accessible.
So it's not in high risk investment. I recommend low risk investments, easily liquidable platforms.
That can easily be liquidated.
So you can liquidate it at any point if you need the funds. So I would not recommend you invest your emergency funds in real estate, right? So maybe you can put in mutual funds. Anyway, this is not the episode for investment, but you get the point.
Yes. The next one is curved ball. What's that about?
Yeah, so while curveball is not a financial term, I think for us, curveball, the idea of curveball, what curveball means is something
excited talking about it.
Because one that's not kidding.
All of these things, it was mostly your idea.
Hard work. Yeah. So curveball is basically like something that sneaks up at you when you don't expect. So for us, curveball was something that we built up that prevented us from touching our emergency savings, because emergency is supposed to be kept for a future time, which like represents 3 to 6 months of your living expense. But curveball, anything could happen. Say maybe a car broke down, we needed to fix a battery, and it was like substantial amount of money that we couldn't kind of just, snuff out from somewhere. So that's what curveball would be for. So maybe for whatever reason, we need to we just needed to do something important that we couldn't move to like the following month, right? Curveball, it means that, I mean, literally snuck up at us, and, you know, we needed to handle it. So that's what
and the final one here is family savings.
Family savings. So yes, so I think for us, our principle was that there were some things that, apart from the money we would give to our parents to honor them and our siblings, just, you know, as a support, things could come up. So maybe school fees, health, you know, health issues that need to be addressed. And I mean, it's a non-negotiable for us. So we didn't want to be in a situation where we would not be able to come through for those critical situations, and birthdays as well. So the goal was not for us to spend in like at any particular month, but to save up so that if there were any of those events, we would be able to conveniently cater for it without it being an inconvenience for us. So you would realize that for a lot of these elements, they were not like recurring costs. They were not things that we hoped to spend in any given month, but that if those needs came up, it wouldn't be so inconveniencing.
So, I mean, I'll just quickly run through it once again. So there's the tithe, offering, all the family-related expenses, benevolence, prophet seed, homekeeping, project seed, groceries, then our personal flex money for both of us. Then there's also miscellaneous, there's savings and investments, couple spend, emergency, curveball, and family savings. One interesting thing I wanted to mention was that at this time, even our personal flex, which goes back to one of the things we had spoken about earlier, you had a higher amount in personal upkeep than I did. And that was because when we were working around the budget at the time, because there wasn't really a lot of, I mean, what we had as our personal upkeep money then wasn't really a lot in that sense. And
it was, are you sure you're not looking at this thing based on now? It wasn't bad. It was okay for where we're at.
But it wasn't a lot at the same time.
Okay.
Let me just make the point I want to make. So at that point, I figured that, you know, as a lady, there were some personal effects that you would need on a regular basis that I didn't have to spend money on. And it just made sense that, okay, you had some extra cash to handle those things. And this is why I was saying earlier that it's not necessarily about
50-50
equality. It's about fairness and mutual understanding. As long as we are placing each other first and looking out for each other, even in our budgeting, then we have something good really going for us. So I hope you have found that helpful, so you can customize your own template as the case may be. So my next question will be this. How do you deal with different spending habits? So some people, you hear terms like, oh, some people are spenders, some people are savers, things like that. So if a couple has different spending habits between the two of them, how do you handle that dynamics?
Okay, so I think that, so in some instances, or in most instances, it's not something that even needs to be solved for. Like, you don't need to fix your partner. You just need to play on each other's strength and help one another, right? So for some people, you just need to be disciplined in some area. You don't need to become like the ultimate saver. And because even for me, it got to a point before we got married where I felt like I needed to work a bit hard at being a spender.
Live a little.
Do you get? Because I would do things for people and I would not remember to do things for myself, right? And for some people who are like spenders, like hyper spenders, they need to cut back a bit on it. So first, I think because it's a partnership, play to each other's strength. So if you realize that for a period of time, you've not even lived, like enjoyed the fruit of your labor. So maybe you need the spender person to like, you know, take the forefront, like, babe, like we need to do this. What do you think we can do? Right? Because you need that fine balance to be able to live life like well-rounded. Do you get? So when it comes to financial planning, solid financial planning, you need the saver to take the lead.
But not every couple has that spender saver. Like for us now, who is the spender? Who is the saver?
So I think we've kind of blended into each other. So sometimes my spending or my spender.
Are you sort of insinuating like I'm the spender?
No. I'm saying like sometimes my spender alter ego comes out. Sometimes the saver part, and for you, sometimes like you take some some spending decision like, oh wow, where did this come from? You know, and sometimes like you are at the forefront of the saving part. And I think our scenario, our situation is unique because we've influenced each other so much that we kind of have that fine blend. But for some people, it's a stark difference. I think for me, the main message is that you don't need to fix your partner. You just need to leverage on their strength and encourage them to make improvements where necessary. So I think for me, that's what my recommendation would be. How about you?
That's good. That's awesome. I feel like it's the most important thing is understanding each other and helping each other become better financially. At the end of the day, this thing works best if both of us are looking out for each other and helping each other become better at what it is we are doing. Because even the spender and saver dynamics may not always be that clear cut. Sometimes it may be somebody that is more generous than somebody who is not another person who is more about saving money from a scarcity mindset, not even from an investment. And so sometimes there may be underlying factors that influence our money habits. So it's really understanding those things so that if this person needs a push to do something different, I know that I'm influencing them the right way. If this person needs to be encouraged to keep at it, I know that I'm influencing them the right way. And also, like you said, salvaging on the strengths of one another. If I know that my wife is good at saving and I'm horrible at it, she should be the one handling the saving. I don't have to insist that, no, I'm the man of the house, every financial. So leverage each other's strengths. So I think that's really what works in that dynamics. So the next question I would like to ask is that in a situation where one person earns more than the other, so say for instance, the classical, most times I feel like when husbands earn more than wives, it's easy peasy. So say a wife earns more than the husband, how should they manage that situation?
Okay. So I think for me, it starts with having the right perspective. I think that marriage is such a powerful partnership that has immense benefits, immense ROI if done the right way. We need to see that, like I said earlier, the two people in that marriage represent two different channels that God can make provisions through. It comes in through those, through the two channels, and then it becomes like the family income. Are there scenarios where the woman is earning more and it can cause issues? Yes, those exist. And I think it leads me to the second part. First, when the perspective is fixed that if my wife is earning more, I need to see it as God bringing in more through this channel for the benefit of the family, of the us, the me and you that makes the us. Now, the second is having the tough conversations. There can actually exist a scenario where a husband supports his wife, loves his wife, wants his wife to actually achieve her fullest potential. But when that earning dynamics happens, there's actually envy and jealousy. And it doesn't mean the man is a wicked person or an evil person. It just means that there needs to be an honest conversation. That man or that person needs to dig deep to understand what is fueling that emotion or that, that mindset. Because sometimes we can't just solve for finances. It speaks to a deeper issue. It could be what that man has seen growing up, or this women experience this too, by the way. It could be what this person has seen growing up. It could be what society is projecting. I mean, if a woman grew up in a broken home where the mom shouldered everything, and she tells herself, you know what, I can never be in a position where, my livelihood, my life choices, my sustenance is tied to a man. I think it's understandable that they would feel that way if their husband out-earns them. Right? So this can happen across. So I think couples, it's a marriage, and I think marriage is designed to be naked, which means that two people are coming together to be naked and unashamed, to be able to bear their feelings, even the ones that we're ashamed to admit, to say, you know what, I feel this way. You know my intentions towards you. This is how I feel. And I think for us, these were the conversations we asked ourselves before getting married. I asked you, babe, what would you do? How would you feel if I out-earn you? And you asked me the same thing. And we had to understand that, look, we cannot be the ceiling or the benchmark of our earning potential because, I mean, we're even in different industries. So the competition is not internal. The competition is external. If my earning potential is 2x what I earn today, but you are just earning 50% of what I earn, 50% more than what I earn. Why should you be my benchmark?
Yeah.
Or vice versa? So I think people need to free their minds up, right? And like I said, this was a conversation we had. And I think having those key conversations early on just sets you on an amazing pedestal for marriage, because you've imagined every possible scenario. When you know that, look, I'm marrying, as a man, I'm marrying a high value woman, and you cannot put a cap on the earning potential of a high value woman. You can't say because I'm earning more than her today to stay that way tomorrow. It's the script can flip, right? Because she's on that upward rise. Same as a man. If, I mean, you're married to a high value man and you know that this person is on that journey of continually improving themselves, you can expect that what they're earning today will surely not be what they will earn, you know, in the not so distant future. And I think when you settle that within yourself and realize that, look, the competition is external. At the end of the day, what I bring in, what my husband brings in, is for the collective joint finances. I think it makes all the difference. So we see ourselves as an asset, and we encourage couples to do the same. My husband is an asset to myself and our family. And I believe I'm the same, you know, to him and our family. And I think that's so important, that we are pushing ourselves to improve, to grow our earning potential, but we are not competing. The goal is how far can I grow with my context in my industry, with what I know, with what I have. And also, another thing I should mention is also not limiting value in marriage, in family, to just finances, right? Because somebody can decide, I want to be a sit-at-home parent or a sit-at-home mom, sit-at-home dad, to take care of the family, to take care of the kids. Things that if you were to outsource and you look at what you pay in a year, you realize that this person is contributing substantially, right? So we can't only limit value to just financial contribution. Let's take note of that. So it means that a wife can be earning, say, maybe 30% lesser than the husband, but she's contributing more in terms of value. Remember, value is not just finances. In terms of the time value as well, in terms of the effort value, all of it adds up. So if we want to go band for band, value for value, we need to appreciate what everybody brings to the table.
That's awesome. I think my advice to any couple that finds themselves in that situation would simply be to just, I mean, that's basically the summary of everything we've said throughout this episode. If you see your finances as something that you're building together that is joint, you would celebrate each other's success as if it were yours, because it indeed is yours. For us, both of us have had several growths in our career, and I remember how each time my wife gets a raise, gets a promotion, I'm always happy. Each time I do so, she's also happy. Not only because I'm happy for her, which is the case genuinely, but also because it's also exactly a win for me as well. You know, it's also a bomb for me as well. A bomb for her is a bomb for me as well. I think I remember, it's like even the last time I got a raise, you were even probably more excited than I was about it. So, I mean, it's a collective. So if you are building together, there's no rivalry. So if I know that that's the situation I'm in, why would I want to put a cap on my wife's earning capacity? So it doesn't do us any benefit. So in closing, I think the final question I would ask is, so a word of advice that can I
just add something? And I think this will help especially males, because I feel like if we look at it in terms of percentages, perhaps it's, you know, the husbands that tend to fall into that category of the question we just addressed. I think you need to ask yourself that if my wife has the capacity to earn a particular amount that increases our family income times 5, and what I earn today, you know, is at like times 2, am I willing to cap my wife just to preserve my ego versus allowing my wife fly and encouraging her to bring our family income to that 5x? I think that's a critical question.
Yeah, the question will now be, is the wife's money our money, or is it our money?
So, and I think there's something I should mention. And see, you know, there is this popular footballer that puts his income, his earnings and assets
in his
in his
mother's
mom's name.
Do we really want to go there?
And see, when there was even one that we were talking about recently where it was like a reality show where a guy and a lady, I think they wanted to get married, and he said he was going to, what do they call this thing? Where
they were going to sign a prenup.
A prenup. And the lady was crying that, it meant that, the guy didn't trust her. And she was like wailing and crying. And remember you asked me, and I'm like, and I was rooting for the guy, protect yourself. Do you know why? So while I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, I think it's unfair to hold unbelievers to kingdom principles. It's unfair because we have family values that makes us, first of all, we are subject to the word of God. We have the same point of reference.
True.
In the West, for a lot of them are not family oriented. They are not kingdom people. So they don't even have the same reference that we have. Some of them are getting married for the wrong reasons. So I think it's unfair to ask somebody to not protect themselves.
True.
So in that instance, I was rooting for the guy, please sign the prenup. Right? Because both of you are not even believers. For the popular footballer that did what he did, guy, I was rooting for him, protect yourself. Because it's a dog eats dog world, that we're living in. Right? So some of the things we're proposing, it works when the both of you have your head in the right place.
Exactly.
You are a believer and you uphold kingdom principles. If the both of you do not, it is going to be wrecked. There are women who have lived by these rules and got burnt because the man was not working by the same frame of reference. So I think it's important. So it's not, you just need to understand your context. Ideally, this is God's desire for marriage, that a man would leave his mom and his dad and cleave to his wife. But when that is broken, that understanding, that perspective is broken, really I understand, and I'm a proponent for people protecting themselves, really. So that's what I think. But once you have your head in the right place, God is your frame of reference. His principles that are supracultural, which means that it transcends culture, it transcends language, it transcends generation. Then I think that this is what will work. That everything is joined because you know what you are building is supposed to and will stand the test of time.
Yeah, awesome. So I mean, all of this crumbles if your values are not in the same direction. So we need to wrap this up quickly.
Okay.
Advice so there's a couple who are struggling with having this money conversation. What tips would you give them to help soften the conversation?
Okay. So I think I said it initially at the beginning of the podcast that first, I think what makes it triggering or agitating is that you just dive right into how much do you earn. I think you can talk around the ideologies. It's a soft landing. You're just finding out how they think, what they their opinions about certain things, and just making it light talk, right? So that you're not just going for the jugular, right? And making somebody tensed up. And I think that's a good place to start. I think also moving by compassion. I remember in that conversation you mentioned where you were kind of flooded. I remember when I saw you tensed up, I told you, you know what, babe? I can see you are flooded right now. Can we take a 10 minutes break and come back to the conversation? I moved with compassion because I saw that you were flooded and not in the right mental space. But I wasn't willing to let you off the hook because I'm like, we have to talk about money. So I think that's how we must respect each other, love each other, but still not coddle ourselves for like the real conversation. So take it easy, take it one step at a time, but don't shy away. Don't let the other person bully you into not talking about it. So, because sometimes some people can just flare up and they're hoping to bully you to not broach the topic again. If that's happening, that's a red flag. But I think these are ways you can cushion that, to make it a more productive conversation.
Yeah, awesome. I think the only thing I'll add to that is that to make it lighter or make it easier to approach, you can have a third-party integration to initiate the conversation. By third party, I mean podcasts, books.
Absolutely.
So you can read books together, ask questions about it. Then you can now customize that to your specific.
By the way, there was a book we read when we were dating, within the first year of us dating, The Rules of Wealth by Richard Templar. And then we'll take one chapter per day, read, and then talk about, ask questions, and it really helped us.
Yeah, so something like that would be really helpful. So in closing, this one is just on a light note. So how have I influenced you in terms of finances and money management since we got married?
Okay, I think one that jumps out to me is this one. I would say it's a weakness of mine, right? So, and first of all, disclaimer: I only do this to family. I only do this to family. No, babe. You have to say this on camera.
Oh, yes, so
that is only to family.
She only does it to family.
No, I'm not owning you.
Evidently.
No, but
yeah. She only does it to people that she knows will not.
That they know my character. Exactly. So the way you've influenced me, so you're somebody who is very meticulous about money you need to disburse to people, right? So I'm somebody that, so I mean, my mom's allowance, I think the plan at the time was to send beginning of the month. So sometimes I may actually forget, and my mom will have to remind me, or maybe I'm supposed to send money to my mom or whatever. I just realized when family ask me to send money, I genuinely forget.
Family also includes me.
Yes, including. So maybe I'm supposed to transfer money to you.
That's why I don't like you owing me money.
Yeah. When I'm supposed to transfer money, I'll be like, oh yes, I'll send it. And honestly, when I drop the call, I forget. And this never happens to outsiders.
So yeah, how have I influenced you?
You've influenced me to be meticulous. You did not let me off the hook, even to the point of my husband saying, you know what, anything family related, I will handle it because I don't play with this. My husband is somebody that
and
if he needs to wait now. Sorry?
I said, and there was world peace after that.
I mean, my husband is so meticulous that if he's supposed to send money to somebody, like I feel like his body will be itching him. You'll be so uncomfortable.
It feels like that.
Until he does, and I love that about him. And I'm getting better and better and better. Baby, you can attest to that, right?
Yes,
so I'm more on top of that. And maybe it's also me, what's it called? It's also me just relying on the fact that they know that I will send your money, right? It's not like I'm owing you like that. I'll send the money, I just forget. And sometimes I wish I had an assistant to just help me just disburse the money so I don't have to deal with it.
So maybe so just in case you feel like
you're interested in that,
do a cold mail regarding that, yeah.
Okay, so how have I influenced you?
I mean, in a whole lot of ways. I mean, I remember where I was at, where money management was concerned before we started dating, and where I am at now, a whole lot of credit has to go to you for revamping me. I mean, right now I am so meticulous about finances right now.
He's giving me a run for my money.
Exactly.
The student has indeed become the master now.
I'm telling you, I actually cannot do without it. So especially if you are somebody who is always, sometimes it's easier to hide what you don't want to confront in what's it called, in ambiguity. So you just make everything ambiguous. I'm fine. But when you look into the details, and there's something that comes when you have it going well, you just want to keep it going. So I really, really want to appreciate you in public for that's one of the most significant contributions you have made in improving me as a person, and I'm really, really thankful for that. Babe. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. So this is like an assignment for you, every couple. If you are dating, go on a date, talk about money. You can do the $1 million budget, whatever it is, but just make sure that you have a conversation with your spouse. Can I mention something?
So there's something we do as a family at every time tea. We not only have 3 budgets, right? We have our current budget. We have our short-term financial goal. We have a budget for it, and then we have something called faith budget.
Oh yes,
right. So, which means that I think
thought we had already spoken about that.
But I just wanted to dive in, and I think it will help anybody listening to this. So you are thinking 2 steps ahead. So if I'm earning X amount and my short-term budget is like 2X and the faith budget is like 10X, have a budget for it so that you're already living in that reality. For me, even when I'm bored, I just go into those future budgets and I'm looking at it.
That's what you're doing.
And sometimes, and I'm just living in that reality. Okay. And babe, I think you can attest to the fact that we've seen over time that we not only eat our short-term budget, like we eat even our faith budget.
I was even going to mention that. So I remember the first faith budget that we had. When she brought it up, I was like, let us budget the one that we already have and can see. Which one is faith? And it looks so outrageous to me. I was like, okay, let's just do something, And when we hit that milestone, it was amazing in that by the time we got to that amount in terms of income, we were ready for it. Yes. And I think it's best to already have your potential or future expected income planned out before you hit that particular milestone. Because if you are just planning for it when it comes, there's a high chance of you spending money on things that are not priority at that point in time. So before it comes, you have already analyzed and sat down and said, okay, when we have this amount in income, this is what we are going to prioritize. This is what we are going to do. So once it comes in, you can
plug
just
it in.
plug,
I think
plug
it expands your mind.
Yeah.
It's like the power of visualization and just putting out your faith, knowing that anything I want and desire exists, right? Because God has made everything possible. I think for me, this is just real life meditation. And I would encourage you to do it. If you're not married, you can start doing it even as a single person. And when you are married, you know that that's collaborative power to chasing 10,000 is so true, you know, and I trust that your financial journey and your wins would be tremendous. Yeah.
Yes, what she said. So thank you so much for being with us on this episode. We do hope that you have learned a couple of things, one or two things, hopefully more, about how you can manage your finances better. Do drop a comment, like this page, follow us, subscribe on YouTube, everywhere you are getting this from. Thank you so much for always listening to this podcast. And we do hope that you have enjoyed this one. See you on the very next episode of Someone Had to Say It podcast.
See you.
Bye, everyone.
Someone had to say it. Someone had to say it. Voices rise, we can't delay it.